In this video, I'm going to be building the best LEGO medieval castle that I can. I'm also going to be building a dope LEGO Ninja army to siege the castle and another one to defend it. I'd really appreciate it if you all liked and subscribed, and now let's get into the video. So I started the build by laying out 4 32x32 base plates and then making the base of a river using blue plates that's going to be running through the mod. I added dark sand plates near the edge of the river to resemble wet sand closer to the water, and I used light sand plates for the more dry sand outlining the river. I then dubbed blue and clear translucent studs on the plate so that it looked like a fast flowing river. The next thing I wanted to do was add some detail along the river, so I did that by building these rocks and adding little green plants with brown twigs sticking out of them. I detailed the sand outlining the river with lots of smooth tiles, jumper plate pieces, and G-slopes. I also added a few more rocks and plants around them. The next step for this build was to design a small bridge over the river that looks good, and this was honestly easier said than done. I brainstormed on how to build the bridge for a while and tried to use LEGO ropes with plank pieces in between them, but this ended up looking awful, so I took a break and filled in the space between the river and one edge of the MOC with brown pieces. I then went back to building the bridge and I tried to make it dark gray by using these arch pieces, but that wasn't looking good at all. So I decided to make 2 simple wood staircases attached to each other and line the sides of them with brown plates using headlight bricks like this. It was a fairly simple design and I didn't even attach it to the base plate, but I think it would look perfect for the countryside scenery I was going for. I then added 4 elevated torches on poles around the bridge and started work on a stone path of light gray and dark gray studs going from the bridge. I then started to work on the cornfield and I used all different types of plant pieces and 1x1 yellow bricks to make a very grown out looking field. I didn't have enough of these cylinder shaped plant pieces which I was using to make the corn to cover the entire field with corn plants, so I made a bush that grew through the corn in the middle of the field to solve my lack of pieces problem. Also, I added a very nice tree. Now if you're getting bored of watching me build terrain and want to watch me build the castle, don't worry because I'm about to build more terrain. But this time it's going to be a wall of rocks instead of plants. I'm using this rock wall to make an elevated area where the castle is going to stand. I also added a stone staircase that looks like it has been chiseled into the side of the rocks. This is going to be leading up to the castle's doors. I used a ton of red and yellow bricks to fill in the space behind the rock wall so that I can make a strong support for the terrain on the top of the hill so that it would be easy to build the castle on it. And speaking of the castle, I'm finally starting it. So as we all know, all good buildings start with foundations, and that's why I'm building the doors for the castle first, because structurally unsound structures are always a win in my book. Anyways, I built myself a nice wall next to the door and I used brick pieces and these weird brick pieces with grid patterns to detail the wall. I started the other wall and I designed this pretty cool window, and I also started building a tower on the far left side of the wall. I made some changes to the door by covering the whole thing in brown tiles but keeping the original design, and I think it looked pretty good. After that I finished up these parts of the wall, and because I put the door on using these headlight bricks, it's not able to open. Bruh. So what I did was make a completely different door to put on the inside of the castle so it doesn't look like this. Oh, and I also added torches next to the door to liven up the build. The next thing to do is work on the interior of the first floor. I put a nice statue and some pots holding tons of flame pieces next to it because they look cool. I made some pillars in the back of the interior of the castle, and I only made them this tall because I was originally planning on making the castle 1 story tall, believe it or not, but my brother told me that I should make it 2 stories, and I'm glad he did because 1 story would have looked lame as heck. He also designed these dope windows for the second story and they look sick. I'm also going to make the second story modular so I can take it apart in sections and access different parts of the build. I built the part of the wall for the second story above the door, and then I made the rest of the wall for the second story. I made this design with these weird statues built into the wall, and honestly this design looks pretty bad, but don't worry, I changed it later. I did a bunch of wall building for finishing up the second story, and I added these wood beams on the inside of the tower to look like supporters and add some detail. Then I completely redid that bad design on the wall I was talking about earlier, and it looked way better. I made the pillars tall enough to reach the roof of the second story, and I made them modular as well so I could take them on and off. I then tiled off the second floor and made some nice railings, and it looked quite good. I also finished tiling off the floor, and I'm not gonna lie, the castle is looking really good at this point. And because of that, I'm completely taking apart this part of the wall to make a bridge to another tower that I'm going to be building next to the castle. I built the tower fairly high and detailed the inside of it, but I stopped working on it once I realized I was definitely not going to have enough pieces to finish it, unfortunately. But instead of completely getting rid of it, I'm going to make an army of red ninja warriors, and I'm going to give them some cannons and have them attack the castle with them cannons. How does this fix the problem of me not having enough pieces? Well, because I can have the cannons being aimed at the tower like they just blew it up, of course. I pretty much tore apart the top of the tower and added a bunch of flame pieces on it. Then I tore apart the inside of the tower and added stuff like a broken door, broken wooden support beams, and dangling chains to give the impression that the place is completely falling apart. Then I made a very fragile floor for the tower, and I also made the ruins of the walls of the second story of the tower. I put a poor old soldier holding on for dear life, trying not to fall down into the ruins of the bottom layer of the castle, and then I threw in some more flames because I'm just a pyromaniac like that. I finished up the bridge connecting the tower and the castle, and I made half the bridge intact and the other half closer to the tower completely screwed up. I also put another soldier running across the bridge to rescue his fallen buddy. Oh yeah, did I not mention I built an entire army of green knights to defend the castle? Well yeah, that was something I did. I made full armor knights, I made an axeman, I stole a prince looking character from a Lord of the Rings set, and I also made some bowmen. Now the terrain in front of the castle looks really bad because it's just green base plate, so I think it's time to make it better. I used palm tree leaves as bushes by leaning them up against the side of the cliff, then I just used regular tree leaf pieces and completely covered the ground with them. This design was simple, but honestly I think it looks really good. Now the next step was to continue the stone path leading up to the castle. Honestly, the build is really coming together now. Now all that's left to do is finish the castle. I finished off making breaking the pillars and also added this nice design above the windows in front of the castle using slope pieces and tiles attached to snot bricks. I also attached some dark green and maroon tiles to the snot bricks to resemble a flag for our Green Knight army. Then I moved on to the next wall and I used the same type of pieces I used on the other wall to finish this one up. The next step was to completely finish the walls, and I did this by putting tiles on them so I could take the roof on and off. Then I built the frame for the roof on top of the castle so I would know what shape it needed to be, and then I pressed it all together nicely on my table. After doing that, I decided there should be an arch and a section of wall on the other side of the entrance for the bridge, but I was really running low on regular gray brick pieces at this point. So I ended up having to make some odd but pretty good looking designs using snot bricks instead of regular bricks. Now it's time to make the ramparts for the roof. My brother helped me again with this part by making this dope design with arches. I then designed this part above the doorway, and it was honestly getting really tricky building these ramparts with such a lack of brick pieces, but I was able to use lots of sloped and snot brick pieces to make them look good. Then I somehow scraped enough bricks together to build the tower higher than the ramparts, and I was really glad I was able to do this because the tower ending at the same level as the roof really wouldn't make any sense for a castle. I made a brown trap door that I could take on and off of the tower so that the minifigures can access the ladder that I put down there earlier. I then built ramparts for the tower using the same styles of designs as the rest of the roof, and I was surprised I was able to make it look this good. After that, I added a flagpole to it, and honestly it looks amazing. Now I have to make the ramparts for this corner of the roof, which is going to be very hard because parts of it jet out weirdly. I started by moving this part backwards and adding cheese slopes in front of it. I ended up just building a really simple design for the corner part because I think that anything too elaborate would look weird. After that, I just tiled off the roof of the castle, and the castle was finally done. The next thing I did was add a bunch of green plates as grass, and I covered the hill around the castle with them. For the part below the castle's window, I just built the rocks higher up because I think adding grass pieces here would look kind of odd. I then used what little plant pieces I had left, and I was able to make the vegetation look really good because I still had a lot of flower pieces left. Besides using the flower pieces, I also used the same tree leaf pieces to cover the terrain on the hill as I used in front of the hill to make the terrain seem similar. And there you go, the mock is finally done. I couldn't decide where to position the minifigures for the final cinematic shots, so I kind of just made a whole movie where the ninja warriors slowly battle their way into the castle. The Green Knights rain arrows from above, killing some of the red ninja warriors. As the enemies of the Green Knights get closer to the door, the knights make their way down from the castle's roof to defend the door. Okay, I'm gonna pause here for one sec to show off the modular parts of the castle. As you can see, I can take off the roof, the pillars, and these two sections of the wall. They fit back in super nicely, and I took them off over and over again because it was just so satisfying. Anyways, the battle rages on the stairs, and many men are killed and wounded. But in the end, the red warriors breach the castle and chase the surviving Green Knights who are fleeing to the castle's roof for a final stand. The Green Knights make a valiant stand and slay many of the Red Warriors, but they are overrun by the enemy's superior numbers. The brave king of the Green Knights is the last one standing, but he too falls as the warriors overrun him. The leader of the Red Warriors lets out a war cry as he overlooks the castle's land that is now his. The battle was well fought, but the power of his cannons were able to weaken the castle's defenses so much that the Green Knights stood no chance. Well guys, now that cringy narration is over, here are some more of my favorite shots of the castle. Thanks so much for watching the video, and if you made it this far in the video, you clearly enjoy my content, so you should definitely hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. Sorry I've been hardly uploading at all. I've literally been working on this build since September 2023, so my bad. I'm working on another video right now, so hopefully that will be out soon. But anyways, have a marvelous rest of your day.